All right, and we're off. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Pumas podcast. I'm your host, James Demopoulos. Alongside of me is Cooper Martin. Cooper, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, James. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, buddy. Who do we have to our left tonight, Coops?
To our left, we have Finn Marshall. Not sure why he's here tonight. Says he hates the podcast. Also, doesn't require a leave time.
Yeah, we do have the absence of the ever-present Corey Mantikos tonight. He will be joining us a bit later, but a bit later is too late. Finn, how are you, mate?
I'm great, thanks, mate.
That's good. So hopefully we'll get a bit more of a presence from you tonight.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you've been on the podcast for a few weeks now, but you haven't really said much. Let's hope that we get a bit more out of you. Mm-hmm. Excellent, thank you. So, moving on already straight to the... we're going to cover the A's and B's tonight. We obviously missed last week's game due to personal reasons from the boys. However, we are going to bring you the A's and B's, maybe even the C's, see how we go for time. But, yeah, we're going to focus on the A's and B's. So, let's start off with our results. I'll hand you to Cooper to start things off. Off we go.
So on the weekend, we had all three teams play away to Murray Bridge. Long trek, James. We got up there in a bit of a carpool. I drove. You slept most of the time.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
bit of a Dutch oven half the time.
we won't talk about that. But
I mean, three grown men driving up to Murray Bridge on their own.
It was very gassy.
We had a bit of meat sweats going on halfway up, but
and you hadn't even had your McVeggie burger yet.
Hadn't even had that. Didn't even realise there was mayonnaise on that thing.
Well, anyway, back to the results. All three teams away to Murray Bridge on the weekend. The Seagrave got their first points of the season, and that was indeed 3 points. 2-0 win with goals to Joel Giro and Julian Ruggieri.
I'd just like to shout out Joel. Joel and I have been at it since I was a striker at the Pumas.
So about 3.5 months.
About 3.5 months ago. Joel produced the goods. Absolutely ripping goal. Hadn't seen anything like that from Joel in quite some time. So it was good to see him get a bit of form back from last season.
Yeah, it was. I've seen him miss open goals, seen him score screamers. The guy's got no consistency about him.
He misses goals. He misses, he misses big plays. He misses training.
He does. And the third is probably the most relevant. The Seagrave, coached by George Poss, he had a goal. He played on the weekend, George, and I think Dim, you helped from the sideline a bit. Probably made the rotations for us.
Yeah, look, I don't think I just helped. I think I put in. I put in a shift there as coach, and you know what? We got the 3 points, and I'll happily take those 3 points as my first ever coaching stint.
Very good. It's always good for you to help out when needed, Dim, even though you dogged the boys and left the Pumas. But on another note, George Poz scored a ripping volley to make it 3-0 on the weekend, and Julian Ruggieri, although he scored a goal, might be in danger of not getting a game this week because he cost his coach a screamer, and I don't think George was too pleased by that.
Look, yeah, George produced the goods up front. The man with the peg legs, they called him, but... No, nonetheless, that was a great goal. Obviously ruined by Jules Ruggieri, who also could have had a second goal. I mean, Jules was unbelievable up front.
He was good.
I've never seen someone of his size and stature making the runs.
I honestly, from where I was in goal, I thought he could have had a penalty, but I think Finn Marshall thought otherwise. Finn, what did you think, Finn, about Jules going down in the box there?
Yeah, well, I was linesman on the opposite side of the pitch, and I had a clear angle from right behind Julian Ruggieri, and I saw him get past the defender. He could have just taken the ball on and scored the goal, but he decides to just flop in the box about 3 seconds after the defender made contact with him.
I have to agree with Finn on this one. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, we haven't seen such controversy surrounding dives since Neymar Jr. at the 2016 World Cup for Brazil. So that was pretty controversial. I thought that Jules could have run in on goal. Having said that, there was another piece of play that Jules could have converted. He absolutely just switched off. Someone flicked the button in the 6-yard box. He had his back to the ball. The ball was sitting behind him. And for about 2 to 3 seconds, no one had picked up on the fact that Julian was in front of the ball and the ball was literally a flick onto goal.
Yeah, well, I mean... What do they say? Quality over quantity, and I think he had neither on the weekend. Regardless of that, well done to Jules getting on the score sheet.
Good on you, Ruggieri.
Well, Ruggieri, yes. Times, Jules. Apologies again, but good win for the Seagrave on the weekend. 3 points. Good to get 3 points.
And good to see Uncle Tony come out.
Good to see Uncle Tony come out and have what do you reckon? 25 minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? When the game got going and we were 2-0 up. I backed Uncle Tones to get back out there with the last 10 to 15
He's
minutes.
putting a shift.
And yeah, he absolutely did. So, good on you, Uncle Tones. It's good to see you back out there.
Always good to get a clean sheet for me as well. So obviously the defence in front of me did their job because I had
How's that fist by you, though?
I had a pretty quiet day at the office,
Yeah.
commanding me box. Off
Absolutely.
the corner.
That's good to see you back.
Good to see the smile on Ben Henniker's face when I came for an airball.
Yep, can't wait. Oh, and you know who else put in a fucking great game? Pumas uncut. You know who else put in a great game? Trent. The fridge.
Trent, how good's the fridge?
The doorstop, they call him.
The Falls Festival, as I like to call it.
Absolutely. Great game. Another great game by Trent. And it was good to see him back as well. And yeah, he put in a shift.
Good on the C grade in
Brilliant.
general. Anyway, moving on, B grade. Thought they were in this game. And were in this game for a very long time. Unfortunately, went down 3-2. Just ran out of legs, really. B grade only had one sub on the weekend. Was myself, so they were in trouble from the get-go. But 3-2, good shift from the boys. Unlucky.
We can go through ratings out of 10 if you want.
Yeah, 3-2 loss. Goals were Andres Moreno and Roberto Antonelli, who will be happy with that goal for a very long time, I do think.
I've got to say, two great goals.
Yeah,
two great goals.
great
Andres
goals.
was a presence
Andres,
up front.
Little flick over the keeper. He was probably the best striker the Bees have seen all year so far, other than myself. So, good for the boys to put up a fight.
Let's go through those ratings out of 10. Let's start with Sam Delanagare. I would have rated Sam probably a 7. I thought he wasn't too bad. I feel like he did let himself down with the emotion side of the game. Having said that, talking about emotions, Darren Monsignor, the captain, Leighton Hewitt, good old Leighton, he definitely got over-emotional throughout parts of the game, but they were very good in the back, I thought. They did concede, 3 or 4?
3, yeah.
3. They did concede 3, but nonetheless, it was a good performance in the back. I think in the future, going through, so obviously rating Sam and Darren 7 each, in the future, I believe that they should try and let their emotions... They should put their emotions aside and just play the game, because I felt like if we did play the game, the defence would have been more upbeat and we would have had probably a lot more chances up front.
Yeah, I think they're both desperate for 3 points, 2 absolute mainstays in the B grade. So when an opportunity came and it was taken away from them, perhaps in somewhat controversial fashion, they let the emotions flare a bit, and that happens. That's football. But, they move on and they'll go again this week.
I'm not too sure why Darren was quite upset throughout the game. I'm not too sure if it had something to do with the referee's decision-making or if someone tugged on his nipple piercing. Nonetheless, moving on to Andres Penalotza Moreno. I think that's how we say it. Is that how we say it?
How I say it. I don't know if it's correct or not.
I haven't seen him play before properly. I saw him come off the bench a while back in the cup game against Old Ignatians. Nonetheless, being able to see him start, he's quick. I like him.
I like him too.
I would have given him for that game, for those efforts, a good 7 as well.
Yeah, probably an 8 even. Found himself on the score sheet. Deserves plaudits for that. I mean, it was a great goal. Took advantage of a good ball through in a defensive area, and he managed to flick the ball over the keeper. It was a well-composed finish, and I can't wait to see more of him, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree.
These on the weekend.
Agreed. Patrick Evenden.
Leave this one to you, James.
All right. I would have... Finn, did you watch Patrick's game on the weekend?
I was kind of in the change rooms here and there.
Yeah, excellent, Finn. Good on you. Good contribution. Patrick, I would have given Patrick a 6. Again, I thought Patrick pulled off a stellar save in the second half. The first few goals I thought were pretty savable. The first goal especially. The second, not so much. But I think the second came from just a lapse of concentration. Once again, the emotions got the better of Pat throughout the game. I think 6 as a rating is a fair effort, considering he did have a good game when he put those emotions aside. But once again, that back 4, along with Pat, they definitely, tensions boiled over a little bit, and yeah, there was a bit of back and forth, and I think that let the boys down.
I think Patrick might have been feeling the after effects of the night before still.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, perhaps,
I heard they had a pretty big night at the Shake Shack.
Yeah, the Shake Shack. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure Patrick will have a comment to make on that himself. Anyway, moving on. Our favourite man here at the podcast. I mean, everyone's favourite man. To be honest, you can't not love him.
Tyson Sturdy.
Dirty Sturdy. I thought Sturdy was solid on the weekend. I didn't feel uncomfortable with him there. Put in a good effort or two. Won a few headers where he needed to. Not afraid to put that little shaved noggin of his to the ball, and I thought he was fantastic.
The left and the right backs Tyson Sturdy, Roberto Antonelli. I thought both had great games.
Yeah, probably 8 out of 10 for both of them. I think it was one of Tyson's better games.
I thought Roberto was challenged a lot on his wing. Tyson didn't see a lot of it, but when Tyson did, he defended really well. He kept his head up, which we haven't seen for a while because someone hangs an anchor from his forehead and his head's just facing down the whole time. But this time, his head was up throughout the entire game. I haven't seen that from Sturdy. I have not seen that from Sturdy. I thought he put in a great game, and I think he needs to channel what happened on Saturday. He needs to channel that energy and bring it into every week.
Yeah, I think, as you said, both fullbacks were great. Robbie Antonelli, obviously, we know he's got quality about him. He's had assists, he's had good games, he's had bad games, he's got goals. I think now the only thing we're waiting for him is to avoid some early card trouble because he likes to get himself in the book in the first 20 minutes, and sometimes it ruins his performances.
For sure.
And perhaps another one that lets the emotions get the better of him, Sturds as well. Sturdy loves to yell out, "There's two teams out here, ref." I've heard that a few times from Sturds. So
I have seen him get a little bit upset, but nonetheless, I didn't see that much this week, and I think that was better. I think the more he concentrates on his game as opposed to his emotions, we'll see him go far for the remainder of the season. Taylor Burgess, or as I like to call Toothpick Tails.
Toothpick Tails, yep.
If anyone's wondering, he got the nickname Toothpick from swallowing a toothpick not too long ago, and that caused him quite a bit of strife. We're glad he's better now. What would you rate him?
I reckon 8 out of 10 for Tails on the weekend. I think he was good. One of his better performances. Taylor played in midfield on the weekend. I thought he controlled the park well, controlled the ball well when he had the ball. Tried to use our attackers probably a bit more creatively than a few of the other midfielders had a chance to on the weekend. And just a solid overall Taylor Burgess performance again.
Absolutely. Scotty Winter. I mean, when this guy puts on his wrist straps, he looks like Gunjack from Tekken. I mean, this guy's coming out like Gunjack from Tekken, and I mean, another solid shift from Scotty. I thought that he worked really well on the wing.
He's consistent, isn't he?
He is consistent. I think he could have been aided just a little bit more by Rob. I found him pushing back a lot more defensively, and because of that, when it came to attacking, he was getting caught out a little bit. But nonetheless,
he sprays and paws consistency.
Absolutely. No, it was a good shift by Scotty. I'd give him a solid 7 out of 10 for his performance. Antonio Centrella.
Tony, centre midfield. I liked his work rate. He probably won the ball back for us in periods of dominance from Murray Bridge 10 or 11 times, and it's the reason he for mine was obviously team effort, but the major reason we were in the game for as long as we were. His work rate was fantastic, and just his leadership on the pitch was fantastic. Obviously, some might forget, but Tone's had some injury problems this year, and he is the vice captain of the A grade. Obviously, because he does have leadership qualities, and that they showed on the weekend.
Absolutely. I think Tony will find his form and his feet eventually as time goes on. I think obviously coming back from injury, it's never going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy task, especially having to make the journey from down in Windsor Gardens to Murray Bridge. But it's good to see Tony back, and I think over time, he's just going to continue to develop, and I think he's finding a good spot in the Bs at the moment. Could possibly push for the A squad again if he keeps these kinds of performances up. Josh McQueen, don't get me started. I mean, this guy causes trouble in the kitchen at work, and I think he's causing trouble in the midfield as well in a good way. Lightning.
Kachow. I thought he was fantastic on the weekend, purely just out of the roles he played. I mean,
how good's this guy?
He played the first 45 in the C grade, had a rest and played the first 45 and 2 minutes in the second half in the B grade. And, we've converted him to a Puma. I think he's a Puma at heart, and you can tell. And he's got good feet, perhaps, just perhaps lacking on the fitness side a bit, and he's working really hard on that, and I give him all the plaudits in the world for it because he is a great player, and I can't wait to see more of him. Absolutely. Just like your steak, Joshy. Well done. Let's move on now. What we might do is I do have a comment from Julian Ruggieri in regards to the way the Bees went. It is a little bit mixed up in terms of it's more so in dot points, so I'll try and put this to proper sentences, but we'll see how we go here. So it says here from Julian, the Rezzies started with a different formation this week. They went a 3-5-2, which is something that they
hadn't used since the early rounds. So they started the game well, and it was a 50-50 game. We were punished early by mistake at our own fault. Andreas made it level with his first goal for the club. Well done, Andreas. The game went back and forth with both teams having a lot of chances, but unfortunately we conceded just before halftime to go 2-1 down. In the second half, we started slow, almost conceding from the kickoff, but then started to switch on, to which the Pumas had a free kick from just past the halfway line in their attacking half, where Roberto Antonelli scored probably the contender for goal of the season and what would or could be one of his best goals. I mean, I haven't seen Roberto pull that out of the bag since the game against, who was it? The Wanderers in the controversial C grade game of last season, where my fingers were all over the place. My fingers were wandering in that game, you're right. So Roberto scored to make it 2-2, but unfortunately some sloppy play led to the boys conceding to go down 3-2, and a few decisions from the referee left the boys bitter, which affected their game and we couldn't recover. So that's what we're talking about with Sam Delanegare, Darren Monsignor, Patrick. They allowed the referee to get into their heads a little bit. There's lots of positives to take out and a lot to work on. Credit to Josh and Cooper making their respective debut in the Bs for the season. Well done, guys. Yippity dippity ripper. So moving on to the A grade game. If we just bring this back up now. Cooper, do you want to get us started with the scoreline?
The scoreline of the A grade game went down. Unfortunate. Long way to lose the way we did. 4-1, I think we had moments, but Murray Bridge, end of the day, just too strong. Goal was a Lawrence Chan penalty. Perhaps we had some chances late, but that might be something Finn touches on for us a bit later, as it slipped my memory a bit. But we'll go through the starting 11. James.
Shane Winter, the captain, how do you think he went?
Consistent, as usual. I don't think Shane produced anything special on the weekend, but I don't think he was missing. Perhaps a little bit better in the second half when he moved further forward, because Shane loves to pull the trigger. I think we all know that. But when he's in that deeper midfield role, perhaps sometimes he needs to lift his eyes, get his head up and play a few more balls through and wide to our attackers rather than having those shots. But further up the pitch, the shots weren't as detrimental to our build-up play and perhaps in better positions for him and for the team, because the ball had already moved through the midfield to him playing in a more attacking role. So might be somewhere we see him in the future, but I think Shane, good for me, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. 6 out of 10 is a fair score. I think we'll have to see a bit more of Shane as captain. The man we know can lead by example, but yeah, I felt like he went missing a little bit. So nonetheless, we'll probably see him pick up this week, which we normally do from Shane. So 6 out of 10, fair call. Adam Fedornak.
7 out of 10. I think Fed's our Mr. Consistent in the first team, and that might be unfortunate because he is a goalkeeper, but you take your hat off to him for being there every week and producing what he does. Again, nothing he could have done about perhaps any of the goals, and did what he did when he needed to. So Mr. Consistent, 7 out of 10. Again, nothing special, but
yeah, look, I'd probably go against that. I'd probably give him a 6. More so because I felt like this week we didn't hear the commanding for Dornak that we usually do. I didn't hear him much throughout the game. Almost felt a bit Marshall-esque in the sense that he was there for about 20. And then he went to go and visit the Bunyip after that because I didn't see him.
We heard the Bunyip though.
Finn Marshall, we'll hand this on to you. How do you think you went? Or how do you think the game went?
The game went. Look, we're unfortunate in the game. 2 early goals were mistakes. We fought hard and we played well in the second half for sure. And then they just kept scoring goals against the run of play, and we fought to the end. And in the last 20 minutes, we were just piling balls into the box here and there, and we found a goal from a penalty, but we just couldn't find our feet, and we're unlucky. But we'll go again this week.
How would you rate your game?
Look, I went missing, I must say, in the first half, but
As you always do.
As I always do, yeah. Couldn't find the ball in the midfield. It was, we were under pressure throughout the first half, and but once I got moved to striker, I think I lifted my game and tried to help the team as much as I could.
Absolutely, yeah. Cooper, if you had to rate Finn yourself?
3. No.
You gave me a point before. You're gonna give me a point.
Probably 7 out of 10. I think for Finn, much better up front. First half 4 out of 10. Second half 8 out of 10. I thought he gave good effort up front, but just missing in the midfield. Got a bit lost. Perhaps he likes to go a little bit wide in the midfield, and that doesn't suit the players he's playing around. They like to keep it in tight and push the ball forward rather than playing it wide and playing it about. But we'll see if Finn and Shane and the others in that midfield click come the latter half of the season.
Surely
Absolutely.
striker.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Noel Armstrong, I think Noel had an 8 out of 10.
I saw Noel was fantastic.
I saw Noel a lot, and I also think that as the weeks progress, I mean, once again, another player that came from never having had first team experience to coming to the Pumas and being put into a defensive role. But I mean, this guy's fit, and has absolutely killed it in the past few weeks. So I think that, Noel 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought Noel was fantastic. I've taken my hat off to Kieran Evans 10 or 12 times this season. But yeah, look, Kev's our Mr. Consistent, but I think Noel's coming for that title because he's probably been our best player over the last month, in my opinion. But yeah, credit to Noel. He's a fighter, he's a battler, and that's what you got to be to play for the Pumas at the moment. So yeah, I agree. 8 out of 10 for Noelsy.
Kieran Evans,
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. I think Kieran put in another consistent shift.
A Kieran Evans shift. What you
I think
expect from him?
I'd rather have seen him more dangerous as an aerial presence, but
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we had enough of a commanding presence in possession to get the balls into the box for the likes of Finn Marshall and Kieran Evans with a bit more height there to get on the end of. But, hopefully we see that in the weeks to come.
absolutely. Lawrence Chan.
I was trying Lawrence's boots for him the other night because he seems to be rather happy with himself for putting a dead ball away from 11 yards or whatever a penalty is. But, congrats to Lawrence for getting another goal on the score sheet. And I will wash his boots for him if he scores one from open play before the end of the season. That's a bet with you, Lawrence. I will wash your boots, take them home and polish them if you score from open play.
I've got to say, something I do enjoy, though, is the fact that Lawrence himself is enjoying the game again, which I think is important, and I think it's important to the club as well that Lawrence is enjoying his football. To me, he's a big part of the furniture almost. He's had a lot of history with the Pumas, so it's good to see Lawrence back out there as a first team player and actually enjoying his football, because I think he puts in a really, really strong effort every time he goes out there. So, hey, a goal's a goal. So if we've seen players not wanting to step up for penalties in the past. Lawrence is someone who, Finn. Lawrence is somebody who steps up to the task and takes the penalty and
for sure.
puts it in the back of the net.
We saw Dazzle put one in the B grade cup game. He started on the spot in Oldie. He's ended up at West Beach, and Lawrence had the opportunity to put his from Mowbray, Taylor Ben, but instead he put it in the back of the net, and that's what we like to see.
Absolutely. Ryan Thurston. Look, I think somebody bought the coils out because Mozzie went missing.
He did. He was attracted to the sticky stuff, and the sticky stuff wasn't the football on the weekend. He says some fucking dumb shit. Look, Mozzie for mine. Again, top 3 most consistent players this season for us, and I think it was just probably a dire performance in general for us, and perhaps that's why Mozzie went missing. Dropped back into the midfield in the second half. I think great decision by Coach Luis Cardinale to try and get him a bit more involved in the game, and that saw Finn push further up the pitch and try and get him in some more attacking positions. We looked more like scoring in the second half, and I think that change was a big part of that. Unfortunately, didn't find the goals, weren't able to convert the chances we did create, but hopefully that comes in the next few weeks as well.
Absolutely. Nick Levithius, I mean, it looked like this guy came out of the octagon by the end of it.
Yeah, the Greek god in Valley View.
The Greek god in Valley View. He was battered and bruised throughout that entire game, but I think
For a little man, he throws himself around.
Absolutely, and he needs to. I mean, he's playing a role that requires speed and guts, and he puts both in, I reckon, and that was a pretty decent shift by Nick, and I would have given him a solid 7 out of 10 for his performances. He did come off with a little bit of a niggle towards the end of the game, but I mean, he was getting thrown around a fair bit.
he's come into his own in the first team the last few weeks. Nicky, one of my favourite players in the first team. Not that I have a bias towards players, but I just love the way he goes about things. And, let's hope he finds his feet even more and becomes the player we know he can be. And speaking of finding your feet quickly and becoming an ever-present man in the first team, Matthew Willisey.
Mate, his free kicks were unreal. I thought his free kicks were unreal. It's a crying shame that none of these players, Finn, Kev, Brett, none of them could get on the end of his balls into the box. Crying shame.
Yeah, it's a dream of mine to get my head on the end of a Matthew Willisey ball. So,
mate, I thought they were perfect balls into the box. What else do you want from being basically in the corner of your attacking half on the halfway line?
And not just his free kicks. He's been fantastic ever since he came into the first team, Matty. I honestly, I won't lie, I didn't think he belonged there, but I'll openly admit that I was wrong because he's been fantastic in the last month. Yep.
Good on you, Matty. I would have given him, 7 out of 10, I reckon.
7 or 8 out of 10, yeah.
Brett Chatterton. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you the first thing that's wrong with this bloke is that he rocks up to the Pumas games wearing a Monster Energy or Rockstar cap on backwards. Looks like he's just came out of the trailer park after having a fight with his first cousin.
Yeah, we talk about Paddy Everingham, but this bloke rocked up with a different kind of high on the weekend.
Brett, I mean, what do you say? Brett Chatterton, centre back, strong bloke.
Made a few unfortunate errors on the weekend, and he was the first to admit to those. I think what Brett lacks in pace, he makes up for in muscle, and he was just unfortunate to find himself tangled in a few situations where that couldn't help him on the weekend.
Absolutely.
But Brett's one of those players that'll wear that on the chin, and he'll bounce back.
And I have to say, you know what? I'm really enjoying having Brett around the club, and I think everyone is. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't go following your brother Brett. Stay around because we'll definitely love to have you over the next few seasons. That's for sure. You're a great presence to the club, and you're putting in the work, and that's what we want to see. 6 out of 10 for Brett. Taraz,
the Persian Prince.
The Persian Prince. Look, mate,
as he likes
I'm going to have to stop you right there. There's only one Prince at the Pumas, and that is Johnny Prince Parletta.
Yeah, I might start calling him Johnny the Servant Parletta until he stops robbing me of assists. Put a brilliant ball through for him in the C grade on the weekend, and just about missing an open goal. So, tighten your laces, Johnny, because you need to bury those. Anyway, Taraz wears the crown at the moment, in my opinion. The one and only Prince at the Pumas, Taraz.
That's disgusting. I'm going to have to stop you right there.
As he likes to call himself.
Don't like it.
As he likes to call himself Aladdin.
Won't have it.
Tells me all about how he gets up the right flank on his flying doormat. Anyway, I thought Taraz, he's finding his feet in the first team again, as he likes to say. It'll probably take him a while to find his feet, but I think he's coming into his own. And, I hope for a few stronger performances for Taraz. Great bloke. And again, just another guy.
I think he's going to start to find his feet, but nonetheless, good on him. Good on you, Taraz. So that concludes our out of 10s for the A's, our ratings out of 10s. Nonetheless, let's move to the 3-2-1s for each grade. I think we might even touch the C grade, or we're just going to leave the C grade out of this.
We'll touch the C grade. We don't have coaches' votes for the C grade. We haven't heard from George Poz on coaches' votes. In fact,
he actually approached me to give my 3-2-1. I kid you not.
The look on your face tells me you're joking.
I'm not joking. No, you can ask George himself. That's the Amore.
No, you will get 3 votes as always to give in each grade. But so no coaches' votes in the C grade. But we will start with the C grade. We'll go myself, James, and Finn 3-2-1s in the C grade. I believe you saw all of the C grade game on the weekend.
Yeah.
Look, so we'll go 3-2-1s. For myself, obviously I played. I'll give myself 3 votes. No, on the weekend I thought in the C grade, 3 votes Julian DeMarco. I thought he was brilliant at the back, made me comfortable in goal, and played some excellent balls. I think 2 votes go to his brother, Marcus DeMarco. I think he was brilliant, attacking up the flank, caused danger, created opportunities for us, was very unlucky not to get himself a goal. And 1 vote, Claudio De Loco, brilliant in midfield, controlled with his feet, and sprayed balls for us.
I went a little bit different to you, Cooper. I went 1 vote, Julian Ruggieri. I thought he was unbelievably influential. I went 2 votes to Trent. I thought Trent was great on the weekend. I thought he was brilliant in the back there. And I also went 3 votes to Julian DeMarco as well. I thought that we needed his speed. We needed his dominance back there. It was crucial at times. And I think just those 2 boys were really demanding in the end of the day. I didn't give any votes to Marcus because we're talking a superstar playing the C's and you know he's going to have a good game. And I've got to say he just absolutely carved it up. So Marcus knows how good he was.
Yeah.
We know how good he was. But we got to put these votes, we got to distribute them fairly. And I think that, Marcus being an A grader, playing the C grade, he's always going to have a bit of a day out. So, yeah, my 3 votes definitely went to the other brother, Julian.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go completely against what James just said there. I'm going to award Marcus for his brilliant efforts. He just, the whole game just completely destroyed the opposition. 3 votes to Marcus.
You might as well go and play C grade then Finn for the rest of the year because you're not picking up any points in the A grade.
That's about his level to be honest.
He's not picking up any points in the A grade.
Down there. 2 votes to Julian Ruggieri. Sorry. Julian Ruggieri picked up his goal. Yeah, maybe not for the dive, but we'll skip that one. And then just 1 vote for Julian DeMarco. Very solid in the back.
Awesome, thank you for those votes, Finn. Moving on, we will go to the B grade. So coaches' votes from Julian Ruggieri, I believe, for the B grade. Pumas podcast votes from myself and Dimo, as Finn did not see all of the B grade game. We'll start with coaches' votes.
So the coaches' votes went to. Let me just bring them up here. For the Bs, it went 3 points, or 1 point. So we'll start from the back. 1 point to Andres for his goal, and I thought that his effort definitely he deserved the point there. Toothpick Taylor got 2 points or 2 votes, which was an excellent effort for Taylor. I don't think he's been on the. I don't think he's picked up many points this season so far, so it was good to get on the board. And 3 votes to Darren Monsignor. So good on you, Darren. That's 3 votes for you again this week, mate. That's where you want to end up as captain. You want to be getting those points.
Consistent. We'll go to you for your votes now.
Okay, so I went 1 vote Sturdy. I thought he was great at the back. I really did. I thought he was a presence and he was positive. And I think that positivity drove his game and put it in the right direction. So that's 1 point Sturdy. I went 2 votes to Darren. As much as Darren did let his emotions get the better of him at 1 point, I just thought that it was a much, much, much better defensive display by the whole team. And I think my three votes, you came on for a little bit, didn't you, as striker? How long did you have up there?
A little bit. About 40 minutes. I was gassed after 5, so I'd give myself -3 votes, to be honest. I didn't do a heck of a lot.
Yeah, look, I think in the end my 3 votes would probably they'd have to go into I thought Tony Centrella. I thought he was just much better out on the field, especially in the Bs, and he looked good from the get-go. So, Tony Centrella gets my 3 votes.
We'll move on to my 3-2-1s now. 1 vote for mine. I'm going to go towards the other goal scorer. I'm going to go 1 vote Roberto Antonelli. I thought he was fantastic, scored a great goal. Again, we spoke about how strong both fullbacks were. 2 votes, Darren Montagneur, for the same reasons that everyone else has said. He was just consistent. Perhaps, as you said, the emotions getting the better of him might have cost him the 3 votes, because I feel like the tempo just dropped for the team on the park when that big interval sort of came after the 3rd goal. And 3 votes for mine, couldn't agree more. Tony Centrella. Thought he commanded the pitch, was fantastic on the weekend. So we'll move on now, after our B grade votes, to the Pumas Podcast Player of the Year award for the A grade. Absolutely. Into our 3-2-1s from the coaches, James and myself.
Okay, so I went 1 vote to Nick Levithius. Great display, guts, absolute guts, gutsy in the back. So Nick Levithius definitely got a vote from me. I thought his defensive display was admirable. So good on you, Nick. That's 1 vote for you, mate. Matt Willisey got 2. Look, again, this kid is consistent and he's always found a spot in that first team and he's quiet about it. So he's a bit of a dark horse because he's almost like the quiet achiever, isn't he? And 3 votes, couldn't look past Noel. Again, I thought Noel was brilliant out there, so he definitely got those votes based on his consistency. Yourself, Cook?
I'll stick with you first, and we'll go to Lewis Cardinale's coaches' votes.
Oh, right. Sorry, mate. Was I supposed to?
We probably should have started with those,
Yeah,
but we'll go to those now.
Yep. So for the A's, Lewis has gone 1 vote to Lawrence Chan, 2 votes to Matt Willisey, and 3 votes to Shane Winter. Cooper, your take on the votes?
On Lewis's votes? Yeah, I think Lewis sees what he sees out there as the coach, and that obviously his votes will be different to ours probably most weeks because Lewis knows what roles he's given who in the change rooms before games, and obviously he gives his votes out to the players that have done what he's asked of them. So congrats to those boys. I am going to go off of what I saw, obviously, and a bit different to Lewis there. I'm going to go 1 vote Finn Marshall. I thought once Finn moved up front in the second half of the A's, we looked
But you are aware there's 45 minutes and a half and then 90 minutes in a game?
I am aware there's 90 minutes a game, and I am aware he didn't play 90, but I feel like in the first half we didn't look like scoring at all, and in the second half I think Finn gave us a little bit of a bounce board presence up front, was able to play the ball out of his feet to players, and that teed up Shane Winter a couple of times to have a crack, and there was good opportunities that came out of his feet. 2 votes, Noel Armstrong. Consistent again. We spoke about those players that are starting to show some real consistency in the first team, and that's what we need if we're going to start putting points on the board. So I've gone Noel. And then 3 votes, you just called him the dark horse. I've started to call him a natural first-team footballer.
That's brilliant. That's beautiful.
Matthew Willisey.
Good on you, Matty.
I think he's been fantastic the last few months, and he played another really solid game, pocketed their right winger on the weekend and put some brilliant set-piece balls in, as we spoke about. So that's my 3-2-1s in the A's, and that rounds off the Pumas Podcast Player of the Year segment for this week.
Absolutely. And one thing I forgot to do was mention the comments from the first-team coach, which was Lewis Cardinale on the weekend. He has taken over the reins for a while. Now, Lewis can put together a pot of paint, but unfortunately he can't really put together a string of sentences. So he has written a bunch of dot points for me here, so I'm going to try and put that together as best as I can. Once again, apologies if it doesn't make sense. So in the A grade, the first half we were on top early, but we didn't have any real chances. We then conceded 2 goals from defensive errors. In the second half, we came out early, and it was a tough battle in the middle of the park. It says here, look, I might as well just read this out verbatim, and you guys try and tell me what this means. Came out early and was a tough battle in the middle. Personal were swapped around to try change. Now, I mean, you guys try and work out what that's supposed to mean. So the referee then drew a penalty against us that only he saw. We were given a late penalty after not giving up and showed some urgency. Unfortunately, we conceded a counter-attack goal after being pushed off the ball too easy, and that was pretty much the game. So once again, try and put together... came out early and was a tough battle in the middle. Personal were swapped around to try change. Try that one out as your little brain teaser of the week there, guys. Cooper, sponsor of the week.
Yep, so we go to Sponsor of the Week, which is our segment where we give you a little rundown on a sponsor of the Adelaide Pumas. This week we look at D&T Plumbing Services. D&T Plumbing Services have sponsored the Adelaide Pumas for a few seasons now, and the club cannot recommend highly enough using them for any domestic or commercial work. Always willing to help and offer a quote to anyone within the Pumas community, contact D&T Plumbing for any work you need completed. D&T Plumbing can be contacted on 0411 673 365. And always remember to support the people who support the Pumas.
Absolutely.
D&T Plumbing Services, ladies and gentlemen, the Pumas podcast sponsor of the week.
You beauty. So we'll probably leave the injury report out this week. I don't think at the moment we're going to really touch on that. We might see how things go over the next few weeks. We do know there were some players who were unable to make the trip up to Murray Bridge. However, that doesn't necessarily mean they're injured. It just means they're slack. However, we will get a better idea this week of the current injuries going around the club. We will get in contact with our personal trainer, Kelly, and I'm sure in the next podcast we'll be able to deliver that information out to the people. Having said that, one of my favourite segments of the night, Angry Pete. Angry Pete. Now, this has nothing to do with soccer. This segment here tonight. This has the topic of Angry Pete has nothing to do with soccer. Speaking of Angry Pete, I haven't seen Pete McAllister in a while. I'm assuming he's probably tied up at work.
I saw
figuratively, not literally.
Pete McAllister managed to make it to the Pumas Sunday session.
He did
for a feed and some beers, and I've heard he's a big fan of this segment.
Good on you, Pete. We hope you're listening, mate. My Angry Pete of the night was what was that pub called?
The Swanport Hotel.
The Swanport Hotel. What a shocker. I'm sorry, what a fucking shocker of a pub that is, the Swanport Hotel. Now, I hope no one from Murray Bridge is listening, probably because they're probably going to have pickaxes the next time I cross the line into the area. But nonetheless, what a shocker of a pub. I mean, first of all, they're only TV showing the footy. I mean, a couple of boys went down there to watch the showdown afterwards, didn't we? After I rolled out of the car and did a little barrel roll and a chuck. We tried to watch the footy, but the view was obstructed by a pillar in the middle of the pub. I mean, whoever's in charge of the layout, get your shit together. Shocker. Get it together.
It wasn't good, was it?
Not to mention the roast of the day.
I think they were just trying to look after the Crow supporters, to be honest. I don't think many of them wanted to actually see the game. So.
I mean, yeah, Linda Meach was riding in the last at Morphettville, so we needed to watch that as well, didn't we?
That's correct. I think you'll find she's riding in Victoria, though.
She probably is, yeah. Missing out on the carnival there. The roast of the day, how was that?
Oh, shit.
I mean, we'll let Finn describe the roast of the day. I mean, this is a pub. I mean, if you want to make some money, if you're thinking of investing, then build a pub in Murray Bridge, because I guarantee you can have no furniture but a good roast of the day, and everyone will come along. Finn, how's your roast of the day?
Just think about this. The best thing on the plate was the gravy. The salad, the plate was depressing.
What was the plate was sadder than Tyson Sturdy.
Oh, no, we're leaving sturdy out of it. We're leaving sturdy out of it.
We have to leave sturdy out.
Look, when you're having seasonal greens, when you're advertising seasonal greens on a plate,
it was seasonal veg.
Seasonal veggies,
seasonal veg,
not masculine greens. Seasonal veggies.
It was a Coles side salad.
Yeah, it was a Coles.
Purpley green lettuce.
Not even. They fucked off to IGA Murray Bridge and grabbed it.
I don't know if they got a Coles in Murray Bridge.
Oh, I don't think they've
haven't got much.
They got every takeaway joint out of the sun. They probably have a Chick-fil-A somewhere hidden on that main street, but not a proper pub. Nonetheless, the Pokies room had nice coffee.
Vegan?
It was vegan, yeah. It was a long black, so unless you
got a complimentary biscuit with it, didn't you?
I did get a biscuit. It was probably made from milk, though, or something like that. So I did get a biscuit that probably had some sort of animal product in there, so I apologise to all the vegans out there. I'm doing my best.
Including yourself?
Including myself. We did go home winners, though. Finn?
Yeah, won a Little Crows footy.
Won a Little Crows footy. How much did it cost us?
$20?
About $25.
$25.
Did we end up cashing in those 3 bingo tickets, though?
Oh,
you're joking. You're joking. So, Swanport 1, the boys 0. Nonetheless, if you want a good feed, head down to the Swanport and mention Cooper Martin for a 15% discount.
And if you do get the roast of the day, ask for no seasonal veg.
Yeah, but bear in mind that if you ask for no seasonal veg, then you're going to get fuck all on your plate because there's nothing to it.
Just order a bowl of gravy.
Yeah, just order. We ordered
The wedges were decent.
the wedges. No, the wedges
The chips
were
were good, but the wedges were.
It's like deep throating a rock.
You gotta have the sweet chili and sour cream, mate. I tell you what.
Nonetheless, they asked for a bit of barbecue sauce and we got a bucket. So, had enough to take home and fill my bottles up here. That's Angry Pete of the night. Swamport, pull your head in. You're the only pub in Murray Bridge, so start acting like a pub, or the next time I'm going to go to the fucking Murray River Basin and start drinking alongside the bunyip. Nonetheless, let's head over to the
Pumas mailbag.
Pumas mailbag, my favourite segment of the night. Pumas mailbag.
Definitely not written by us.
Definitely not written by us.
Anyway, I'll read the first and the last one, I think, tonight. And you can read the middle two. You happy with that?
Absolutely.
No worries. We're going to start off the Pumas mailbag with Brody from Holdfast Bay, who writes, "To the Pumas podcast panel, what can I say? I made the long, exhausting trip up to Murray Bridge on the weekend to support the boys. But despite the results, the boys' efforts were exemplary. From the C grade through to the A grade, it was really good to see the boys out in numbers. Again, despite the results, the drive up was completely worth it."
Absolutely. Well in Brody.
It's the first non-treasonous Brody we've had at the Pumas in the last
I mean, I haven't met a
and a
Brody
half.
that hasn't lied to my face before. So, no, it's good that we've got a Brody from Holdfast. But, I mean, we obviously have to venture out that far because there's no Brody in the Adelaide CBD or surroundings that is genuine and will tell it how it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know all about dogging the Pumas for another club, so...
Yeah, that's fair enough. Nah, good on you, Brody. Enjoy your debut with the MA Hawks, mate. Nonetheless, this Brody from Holdfast Bay, good on you, mate. It's good to see the boys come out at a time in need, I reckon, when everyone needs to rally together. So it's good to see everybody come out and make the trip up. Unfortunately, there were a few heads that couldn't make it up. Chris Giro was too busy patting his puppy.
And playing Crash Team Racing.
In
his new home. We hope you're enjoying that, Chris, as we slug away for points.
Absolutely. Good effort by the boys, and they can really pat themselves on the back for that effort, and I think that really will do us good going into the next few weeks. So thanks, Brady. Keep in touch, buddy. Keep coming out and supporting the Pumas. Samantha from Parafield Gardens writes, "To the Pumas podcast panel. On the weekend, I too decided to embark on the long journey up to Murray Bridge to support the mighty Blues." Oh, you beauty, Samantha. Good on ya. As it is quite a journey from where I live, I decided to book an Airbnb knowing it would probably be a late night. However, little to my knowledge, I had coincidentally booked a shack owned by one of the Pumas players themselves, Patrick Evenden. Well, that's odd. On top of this, Patrick was staying at the shack with a friend. His friend resembled an old, run-down version of Leighton Hewitt. Well, look, Samantha, I'm going to stop you right there, love. I think the old, run-down version of Leighton Hewitt you're referring to is actually our B-grade captain, Darren Monsignor. Not too sure if you got that one accurate. You did get the description of his looks accurate, but yeah, not too sure about old and run-down. He did get 3 points by Lewis this week. Nonetheless, now, I'm not one to get my hands dirty, but Struth, can these two boys put on a show? To sum up my night, it felt like a mix between Pineapple Express and High School Musical 3. If anybody ever considers staying near the Bunyip, then please consider staying at Patrick's shack, or as he likes to call it, the soup kitchen. I'm not too sure what a soup kitchen means. I think Dirty Mike and the boys know what that means, but I mean, what's a soup kitchen?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
I think from memory, it's when a bunch of homeless men steal a car and, sleep out in that car.
Understand?
Understand.
So, nonetheless, thank you, Samantha. We hope you enjoyed your stay, and we'll probably try and get some comments from Patrick and the old rundown version of Leighton Hewitt, and we might get some comments from them and see how that night really went. So, good on you, Sam. Nonetheless, moving on. Zach from Old Norlunga writes, "Dear Cooper, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on a stellar return to the game. Your efforts were heroic in the C Grades 2-0 victory." Once again, Zach, I might stop you right there, mate. I'm not too sure about the term heroic, considering he only touched the leather a couple of times. I think what was heroic was my actions as interim coach. It's nice to see all three grades having three individual goalkeepers. Having said this, where do you see yourself in the weeks to come? Will you be competing for the top spot, or will we see you going toe-to-toe against Daniel Chumper in the C grade for the rest of the season? Cooper, this one's yours, buddy.
Look, thanks for the email. Always good to be noticed. I think, I was happy with my return to the C grade. Obviously, I had a crack last week, probably a week too soon. Didn't manage to get through the full game, so I got through my first full 90 minutes. Really happy to have a clean sheet on that. And, I thought I did my job, obviously. I'd have to agree with James. Heroic's probably a bit of a loose term because, I think personally, I didn't have a heck of a lot to do, but I did what I needed to do. I had a few good moments off corners, a few good balls played off goal kicks, and, that's all you can do when you have a quiet day as a keeper. But to touch on your other question, look, obviously, from a competitive mindset as a goalkeeper, when there's 3 teams and 3 keepers at the club, you want to play as high as you possibly can, as soon as you possibly can. And look, Adam Fed and Patrick Evendon, they'll both put up fights, so it won't be a walk into any of the teams. And, it remains to be seen who plays where, and I guess we'll find out when the coaches make that decision. Beautifully
said, Cooper. And going back to the goalkeepers and Samantha's comment about Patrick Evendon, I thought it'd be important to mention... and probably mention this to the club as well, that once the game has concluded, it'd be in the club's best interest to probably take the soccer balls away from Patrick. Now, we saw the match against Old Ignatians. Patrick's gone and tried to punt the ball after the game, and he's copped Matt Willisey in the jaw. Well, this week it got worse. He kicked a ball into a small child, and this child would have been no taller than a ball on top of one another. So, Patrick, you're a danger after the game, mate. Keep the kicking for within the 90 minutes.
Patrick, probably one of the things he is better at doing, Patrick, is his out of his hands goal kicks at time, but we are aware that they can go a bit astray, and we've seen that happen a couple times after the game. And apologies to that poor child on the weekend that had to express that, and I hope purely that you write a letter of apology to that child's family, because brain cells are important, and we know you've lost yours, but that child deserves to keep his. So,
alrighty, and the last mailbag.
Yeah, the last mailbag. Jessica from Gillis Plains writes, to the Pumas podcast panel, I haven't missed a game in the last month, and I would just like to mention that I have become a massive fan of Luis Cardinale. He has had a hand in coaching all 3 of the club's teams and works extremely hard. Every week I can see the boys start to respect Lewis more and more in his roles. What are your thoughts on Lewis? P.S. Respect to Julian Ruggieri for his efforts stepping up as well. James, thoughts on Lewis in the last month or so?
Well, first of all, I might touch that last line was really important, because I myself was about to mention Julian Ruggieri as well in his efforts. But nonetheless, what can you say about Lewis? I mean, he went from being just the canteen manager, or so they said, to now stepping up as B grade and A grade coach.
Yeah, in the midst of doing that, he became the world heavyweight boxing champion.
He also became the world heavyweight boxing champion. But I mean, doesn't he just define the Pumas and what they're all about? They're a family. They put in for one another. And I think Lewis, just week in, week out, just putting in so much effort, and he's not really getting, I feel like he's not really getting the credit he deserves. He's putting in just so much work, and it's helping.
And so much time as well.
And it's helping the club in so many ways. And I think he really needs to be acknowledged and thanked for all of the effort that he's been putting
100%.
in. So thank you, Lewis.
And I'm going to use Jessica from Gillis Plains. I'm going to use your email into the Pumas podcast for the Pumas mailbag segment this week. I'm going to use that to branch into the That's Amore question of the week. I personally think that Luis Cardinale and Julian Ruggieri have shown absolutely nothing but what we like to refer at the club, or in our group anyway, as the Pumas spirit. And I'll pitch this out to anyone really, anyone around the club, to fans, players, members, whatever. I'd just like to know, that's a more a question of the week. What is and what does the Pumas spirit mean to you?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question and probably good timing as well for such a question. What does the Pumas spirit mean to you and what is it all about?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, the Pumas spirit's just idolised by Lewis there. He really shows up every week. He puts the time in when he doesn't have to because, he bleeds blue, as we like to say, and at the moment he lives for the badge on the shirt. And, credit to Lewis for that, credit to Jules for that, and credit to everyone for what they do around the club at the moment. Obviously, it's not been the most successful season. It's not really been successful at all so far, but, there is still so much belief in the group that we can turn it around as of yet. Let's hope to see that.
Absolutely, and the club is a family nonetheless, through the best moments and through the worst moments, there's always been that core family that's stuck around and just put in the work out of hours and during training sessions. And I think that in the end of the day, that's what we need. We need that family mentality. We need everybody to start getting around one another. And if we keep seeing that week in, week out, then this club's only going to grow because it's only up from here, if you ask me. Finn, what about you, mate? Good on you, Finn. He probably won't be around the club next season, so...
Does Finn Marshall have the Pumas spirit? Anyway, we're gonna move on quickly, and sticking on the topic of the That's Amore question of the week, the Happy and You Know It song, where did that come from? That was our question last week, and Adam Fedornak is a bit of a personality around the club. He's come in, he's pitched his say. We know that Adam can say some things that are really just under the weather at times.
Absolutely.
Forgive me if I don't read this right, but Adam Fed has come in and said, g'day mate, just doing a bit of a delayed listen here at me workplace. The question of the week about where did the Happy You Know It song come from? Well, I've been at the club since the summer of 12, and I reckon it was from the C grade. Now, it's always been a part of C grade folklore. I even think, if I remember correctly, after we won our first game in C grade, we were like, well, what do we sing now? And I reckon it was Matthew Paradiso, who kicked the first goal for the Pumas C grade team and is now a Queensland resident, suggested If You're Happy and You Know It as a bit of a joke, and I reckon that's because it's a very playful song and not aggressive, so it subverts the expectations of our opponents, because they'd be like, oh, that's not a very aggressive song. Of course, me brain could be playing tricks on me, and that's not how it happened, but I reckon that's what makes for good folklore, and all good yarns change in the telling. Cheers. Thanks for reading. Hooroo. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and don't forget to click that like button and add this comment to your favourites if you found it helpful.
Yeah, speaking of his brain not ticking properly, if anybody could confirm that Adam actually got home successfully and safely from Murray Bridge, please let me know, because, knowing this guy, he may have driven the wrong way.
And then Scott Winter pitched in and said, started by Jeremy Corbo, and club president Tony Ruggieri came and said, no, actually, it started before the Corbo era. We started singing in the B grade at McGill. That honour goes to Rafa. And Rafa came in and said, I think you are right there, one of my legacies. Fed pitching in and saying, great Pumas history, thanks to Scotty Winter and Antonio Ruggieri.
Oh, God. It's happened again.
It's happened again. But anyway, look, that's a more question of the week. And I personally think that, we've had a good history lesson there, and perhaps it's not about history but about heart this week. Again, just a reminder, what does the Pumas spirit mean to you? That's a more question of the week this week.
Absolutely. And let's wrap this up. I am pleased to be here once again. Thank you for joining us. I am one of your hosts, James Demopoulos.
I am another one of your hosts, Cooper Martin, and thanks to our guest.
I am another one of your hosts, Finn Marshall.
Oh! Go the Pumas, you beauty!